So obviously I love copper. I really love uranium. Those are the two, over the medium term, those are the two that probably stand out the most. Silver is also a very interesting asset right now. So silver, especially in times of like in economic tumult, like right now, it often responds more as a precious metal. So it mirrors gold. And when people are buying or selling gold because they're confident or worried about the economy and inflation and all of these things, that's, it's other whole ball of wax. Silver mirrors those moves, but silver is mostly actually an industrial metal, right? And of course, it is really essential in solar panels. And there's a pretty interesting math out there where, the Atomic Energy Association, if we're going to hit some of the goals that we have for green energy, we're going to need 10 times as much solar over the next, I can't remember, 7 years or something. And that would currently silver or solar panels require about 10% of the world's silver. So if we were to do that, then all of a sudden solar panels alone would take up 100% of the world's silver output. And on top of that, China is absolutely the leader in solar panel technology, and they have been significantly increasing the amount of silver that goes into each solar panel, and it's working well. It's obviously worth it on an efficiency basis, a power production efficiency basis. So the math that all the silver is going to need to go into solar panels over the next 7 years doesn't even take into account that they're actually increasing the load of silver in each panel. So the silver demand setup is also very robust. Again, it has to get through this moment, especially because it does act as a precious metal, as a safe haven thing in these tumultuous times. But when we come out the other side, I think there's real opportunity in silver for sure. So those are probably the three that lead my pack: copper, uranium, and silver. Nickel is also a really interesting one. It's just hard to invest in nickel because it's often with major miners who produce all kinds of different things. So it's hard to get like very clear exposure to nickel. And then gold. We haven't talked about gold. Gold is probably the hardest one to predict out of all of them. I think there's opportunity there. It's harder to be 100% confident in that opportunity because it's not an industrial supply demand equation like it is with the other metals that I just laid out. It's a safe haven, inflation, economic confidence. What are investors going to be interested in out the other side of this moment? And I think that to me is the biggest question. What are investors going to be interested in when we get to the other side of this tightening cycle? Are they going to go back to fairly speculative investing, which is what we certainly were into in the post-COVID run, because the Fed stepped in and literally just backstopped everything? They backstopped risk, and people were like, woo, let's buy everything works. And so speculative investing was the thing. Or will more caution return to the markets? Will the Fed remain more stringent in its support, or like not supportive, and therefore force investors back into a more normal, more conservative investing approach? And if that's the case, then gold steps forward in its role. And gold's role has always been a safe haven. And on the stock side, as an opportunity that provides outsized returns when the moment is right. Now, gold used to be somewhat unique in that, right? When gold was going, gold miners could shoot through the roof, and there weren't a ton of arenas out there that offered that kind of reliable outsized performance when you captured the moment. But in the last while, we've actually had a lot of arenas offering that. Like if you jumped onto cannabis, it worked when the moment was right. If you jumped into crypto, it worked when the moment was right. NFTs worked when the moment right. And so gold got a bit diluted in that it lost its unique status as offering that. And so that's why I think there's been gold, the price has done pretty darn well. It's been fine. I mean, $1,800 gold is fantastic, but there's not a lot of interest in gold stocks. And I think it's because that interest has been diluted. There's been too many other opportunities to make good money. And so I really think it's when we come out the other side of this tightening cycle, this recession, this inflation, all of this mess that we're in right now, what do investors want? And what do they expect? And what are they buying on the other side? I think that's really going to determine the opportunity for gold. And I just don't know the answer to that one yet.